Hi everyone, it's Will. Today I'll be presenting a critical analysis of WikiLeaks as a digital library. Just some background, WikiLeaks was founded in 2006 by Julian Assange. In 2007, they became mainstream. They published this Camp Delta standard operating procedures, what amounted to a manual for how to treat prisoners in Guantanamo Bay. Uh, They're often attributed to the freedom of information movement. Other groups attributed to this movement could be Anonymous, the Pirate Party, pretty much people who wanted to keep the internet open, keep it like a sort of Wild West, and obviously have access to, champion the access to legitimate information. The notion of being a library is central to the core mission of WikiLeaks. Julian Assange has compared WikiLeaks to the Library of Alexandria, even that was as recent as last year. On the About Us page, this is the very first sentence. This is what you're greeted with on the About Us page, that WikiLeaks is a multinational media organization and associated library. So you can see it's kind of like a two-headed hydra. WikiLeaks, in many ways, is a product of the digital age. It could really only exist in the digital age just because of the massive amounts of data that it receives about governments, like people who want to shut them down. Um, the fact that there's no clear accord on internet law or like the internet like jurisdiction, that's kind of changing now, but at the time it was pretty much again like the Wild West. It's easier to leak documents online, emailing. You have all sorts of secure back channels, IRC, stuff like that. And it's also easy to access the public at large to spread your information in the digital age. Now they use Twitter, they use Facebook, and other social media tools. Quick word about the collection building, population and maintenance of their collections. I think it's best to understand the sort of collection development policy of WikiLeaks by looking at it through the lens of the Alexandrian principle. Um, the principle being that librarians should grab pretty much whatever information they can. Recently, as we've read, that digital libraries tend to be more user-centered. They tend to be more picky and more specific about their collections, and that's all and well. But in a way, WikiLeaks sort of also rejects this notion. They reject it because they're not looking so much to go out, obtain, and curate content as they are very much a passive receiving organization. They receive what's given to them. And pretty much anything given to them, they'll consider publishing as long as it falls underneath this one big theme here, transparency. Everything seems to be about transparency with them. So whether it's internal documents from a big corporation, whether it's government documents, private emails of officials, anything like that, anything that represents transparency, they want it. I would like to talk about WikiLeaks information storage and retrieval through the lens of searchability and browsability. WikiLeaks relies heavily on free text searching. They rely heavily on their search bar, on their search capabilities, and as we'll see, their browsability really falls to the wayside to their detriment, and we'll get to that in a little bit. You can see that they index their material by assigning unique numeric identifiers to each one of their documents and emails. To just so you, if you're doing research, you write down the 5-digit number. You can go back. You can look it up anytime. The first time I noticed that there's a problem with the browsability is that the collection that I used for my research, the Podesta emails, the John Podesta emails, um, very hard to find sometimes. As a matter of fact, even though I went into it like 10 or more times, about 7 of those times I forgot where the heck I found it. So that should show you that like I had to expand all leaks, and it wasn't found that this collection wasn't found underneath any of their categories or underneath any of their tabs. You have stuff here like Turkey. This would be underneath international politics. This might be under government. So on and so forth. They might have a place for like private corporations, but there's a few of them like so that are just kind of left out floating, and that's kind of indicative of some other things that I'll find, some other problems I'll find. If you see here with the Podesta emails, you can search terms by the terms in the email because they have the actual text from the emails. There is no digitization process or anything like that. You can actually just search. Like the emails are their own metadata. Like you don't have to have a schema or anything like that attached to the records. And then you have your search by email ID here. You have your advanced search where you can search the top senders and recipients. You can kind of narrow it down to a date range. So if you see like say a specific event that you want to see if Podesta or his campaign had anything to do with an event, or like say an article that was published, then you can kind of like check like the date range there. So you have the top senders, you have the top receivers here. You can see that you're still dealing with rather large numbers, so the browsability just isn't going to be there. So you're going to have to like really narrow down your search, and you pretty much have to know what you're doing. Now, coming back to that lack of browsability, seems to be my chief criticism of WikiLeaks is that this lack of browsability is illuminated when you compare WikiLeaks to, say, like a government digital library. And I use the Vault, the FBI's Vault, as an example to sort of compare and contrast with here. So I loaded up the Vault. I had a quick look around. I noticed the categories. I came down. I clicked on organized crime because why not? That's pretty cool, I guess. I come in. I see Al Capone, so I can't really go past him. So I give him a click. So a couple clicks in, and I'm already at like some pretty neat documents that are, um, copies of originals from back when they took Al down. Um, so you can see that that's just very seamless, very streamlined, and WikiLeaks does not have this at all. They do not have this sort of ease of access at all. So to sort of recap and maybe add on a couple observations, for pros, WikiLeaks is a testament to the Alexandrian principle that it can sort of persist in the digital age, or rather because of the digital age. Um, you can really just grab a lot of data and then you can just break it down using search tools and the like. WikiLeaks provides all the content of their government documents, so you have everything. You don't have an email that is, say, selectively culled. You get the spam along with the good stuff, so to say. So you may be, looking through a lot of mundane things, during your search for, the juicy stuff. Their emails come ready with their own code and formatting, so there's really not a whole lot of that needs to be done as far as like you know processing items for the collection. So it's kind of just easy just to throw things in there. They actually spend most of their time on vetting the emails to make sure they're real. Um, and they excel in searchability. That's really the best part of the digital library. The cons, there's a lack of curation, category browsing. These sort of things make the initial approach to WikiLeaks difficult, especially for like newcomers, or, I mean, if you're not internet savvy, then it's especially difficult to really grasp what's going on. In some areas, they actually have like editorials kind of attached to certain collections, but that's kind of like far and few in between, and it's not consistent. And I think that with a digital library, you need consistency with the way you treat each collection. It's tough to give one collection some more love than the others. Um, So the browsability is weak. Funding is clearly an issue. I think a lot of what I'm saying about the sort of disorganization, the sort of lack of curation, so to say, or editorializing, or the lack of pretty much telling people what's in there. That's probably because of funding, but it should be mentioned that it's also because of like their sort of core mission, like that they want their users to sort of apply their own context to the material. They kind of just give like the raw data, and it's up to you to grab what you want out of it. Um, but then again, they're not consistent with that. Sometimes they have editorial work, sometimes they don't. So that's something they need to sort out. They need to decide like what is their goal. Some suggestions. I think that WikiLeaks could probably start like a internship, perhaps an internship program to get some hands on board. The collections need to be properly and consistently categorized. The key terms can be indexed and categories created based on public interest. Maybe some algorithms to weigh things better. Usability tests and user surveys can help clear up the discovery and access issues that I'm talking about. And maybe perhaps implementing like an auto-filling search box so people can understand like what other users are searching at the time. Just to draw out that sort of dichotomy of WikiLeaks, in one fashion, they appear as like this faceless vault of information, but then another face kind of shows like the editorial columns scattered sparsely throughout. So they should really resolve this divide and really just go one way or the other. In my opinion, it's best for them to remain a vault of primary sources of information. That's really what made them notorious to begin with. Um, and also a timer slider, like the one present in New York Public in the New York Public Library, and a special thanks to Rebecca because of Rebecca Alberto. I had a look at this particular library, and having like a slider of this time, I think that adds like it's kind of a neat little visual, and it's a good way to like maybe sort through like important items, documents, emails, and the like. So who says that digital libraries can't be controversial? In an age where tech giants such as Google are curating the information that show up within their search engines, there are less and less places on the internet where you can go to find pure, unadulterated information. And for better or worse, WikiLeaks is such a place. As a digital library, however, WikiLeaks still has room to grow. Um, Thank you for coming along with me on this journey, and I'll be watching your presentations and see you in digital class. Thank you.